Hey guys, Chris from Provo Beast Audio Installation, and in today's video we're going to be doing a backup camera on this 2009 Honda Accord. Now in this install we're going to show you how to install that camera to the license plate and integrate it to an existing aftermarket radio. Let's get started. Now here at the bench, the parts that we're using for today's install is this camera kit by Natica. It's the WD779. What's cool about this kit, it comes with an all-in-one power and video harness, comes with a universal mount camera, as well as a license plate mount that you can convert it over just depending on your application. Now, depending on your install, you can go with one or the other. Today we're going to be actually using the license plate mount instead, and using the factory studs on the license plate to mount the camera itself. Now, taking a closer look at the power harness that's included within the camera kit. This has plenty of length and it runs all the way down and comes back up here. One end here plugs into the camera input on the back of your aftermarket radio, the reverse camera input. It also has a trigger or a power wire, depending on how you wire it, hanging off there too. It just runs in parallel with our wiring. On the other end is the end that connects into the camera. This end will plug into the camera itself, and then you have a power and ground. Now, this red wire actually also connects into this red wire. So what Natica has done is allowed us to have the option to power in different ways. You could simply hook up the power and ground to the reverse light, power and ground, and then this end would connect into the reverse trigger wire of the radio. So as soon as that light sees power, not only does it power the camera, but it's going to trigger the radio to automatically go in reverse, because this will see 12 volts. As soon as you take it out of reverse, the camera will no longer receive power, neither will this wire, and your radio will cycle back over to its previous source. That's one way to do it. However, there are radios on the market that allow you to peek on the camera at any time, and so if you wire it this way, if you try to look upon the camera when not in reverse, it's not getting power, the camera's not going to be on, it'll just get a black screen. So alternatively, we're going to actually connect and power our camera off of accessory or a source that's only on when the key is on, and then we'll have to run another wire with this for our trigger wire, unfortunately, because we'll use this setup for accessory to power the camera. Our vehicle does not have a trigger wire back behind the radio, so the easiest way is we'll just snag it from the reverse light. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get this camera wiring all prepped here. Like I said, we're going to run an additional 18 gauge wire with that for a trigger wire, because we're going to repurpose these wires to power our camera. So we've converted our camera now over to the license plate mount. Next thing, we need to start disassembling the trunk liner, so it allows us the space needed to run our wiring. So let's head over to the car and get started. Alright, so we got that all pulled apart here. Now, our license plate is off. You could actually mount, we don't have a button here, so you could use your universal mount and drill straight in there. Alternatively, this is not plastic, it's actually part of the middle trunk, so it's not recommended. That's why we're going to use our license plate mount to get that mounted. Now, there is no grommet in there, and the way that these lights pass through is the light itself, the housing clips into the body, and the wiring is there connected back behind. So either we'll have to just do a slight hole in one of these, or drill a hole through the sheet metal and add our own grommet in order for us to run our wiring. So we're going to figure that out and come right back. Alright, so we got our license plate bracket mounted, and we drilled a 3/8 inch hole and used a grommet there that we sealed up and around, and that's now a nice little grommet that goes up into the trunk lid. Now, of course, like I said, you could probably drill and modify this light, but we don't want to compromise the light. This was a nice flat spot to get a 3/8 hole in, and we had a grommet that fit that location. So that's the route we chose. So you either have to modify the light or drill a hole. That's really your only option in this trim level or model year Accord. So let's now head inside the trunk lid and start running our wire from that point. All right, so with our wire fit through, we split loomed it. That's where it comes out. Ran it all the way down the factory loom here, and that split loom just zip tying it, and we're down to this point. Now, we have two directions that we're going with. Remember, this length will go the length of the car all the way up to the radio. As mentioned before, we need to run our own trigger wire. So we have some 18 gauge wire, about 20 feet length of it, that we're gonna run from the positive of the reverse light all the way forward and tap into the radio's reverse trigger wire, which is that purple white wire on our radio harness. Our video wire here is going to carry the image all the way forward, and it has in parallel the red wire, which in our purpose here today is going to be powering the camera. We'll connect it into accessory back behind the radio. Back here for the light, purple wire, again, it's going to be a reverse trigger. It goes all the way forward along with the video wire. It's going to go to the reverse light, which is right here, the positive wire. And since our camera has a power harness, a red and a black, I'm not using the red wire because that red wire on the other end is going to be connected to accessory. So we're just going to cap off the red wire on this end. The black wire here, we just need a ground. So let's go ahead and make those connections. We've done that here by pulling this back. And this harness, unplugged it off the back of the light housing. Blue is going to be our power wire, black is going to be our ground for our camera, and so our reverse trigger wire is going to go to that light blue, the black is going to go to the camera ground. We're going to solder onto that, so we just stripped the shielding back without breaking the line, poked a hole through it, and threaded our wire through that copper wire, and we're just going to solder on and tape that up so it's nice and insulated. Alternatively, you can use T-taps as well. Next thing we need to do here is run this video wire and our reverse gear trigger wire all the way forward towards the radio cavity. Okay, so we got the camera all done here. We can get the plate back on. Got the carpet all done here. Got everything zip tied. Looking back in here, we connected our wiring to those two connections, taped them up, put some zip ties. Now we're going to be running this forward. All right, with everything zip tied now, we ran our video wire and the direct path, and we can actually pull it from the other side versus going all the way around and fishing it through. It's a little more efficient and it's a lot cleaner. So we're going to go from the other side and show you how we pull that on through. Other than that, we're going to go ahead and reassemble the trunk, put our clips back in, and continue from the inside. Now to feed it from the trunk into the cabin here, if you pull your rubber stripping out of the way and kind of pull this aside, right there, and we used a hanger and just fished it through. And that came out here, so it's a direct line and then down, and we're gonna work our way forward. All right, so we fed our video wire for our camera up into the dash. Now, obviously, you didn't see us remove the dash in this specific video because we covered it in great detail when we installed the radio on this vehicle. Check that video one out. We'll link it down in the description, which walks you through step by step on how to install an aftermarket radio in your Honda Accord. So with this radio on out, this needs to go to the camera input on the back of our radio. We'll plug that on in. The little red wire off of it, we connected into the red wire or accessory of our harness adapter, and we'll show you exactly how we did that and basically cover that in the first video. We just tied it into the red wire of our radio. So that's going to power the camera whenever the vehicle is on. This little red wire off the RCA. Remember, our purple wire that we ran along with our video wire. This is the trigger, and obviously the other end connects to the reverse light positive. That goes to the radio's purple white wire, which we've made that connection as well. So with all our connections now made, the backup camera connection, we did our harness, everything's good to go. Let's go ahead and begin reinstalling our radio. That seems to be working great too. Alright, so with the radio installed, let's go ahead and test our backup camera. Put it in reverse. There we are. Pull it out of reverse. Awesome. Now again, since we wired our camera to accessory, the camera actually is still on, and if we go ahead and hit rear view camera, it pops up. So we can still use the camera, but not in reverse, which is super cool. So that's about it for this backup camera install. Like I mentioned before, if you want to see this radio install, we'll link that video down in the description so you can have that step-by-step walkthrough on how to integrate that camera to an aftermarket radio. Thanks again for watching. Be sure to hit the like button if you like what you saw, and don't forget to subscribe. We post great content on the channel all the time, and we will see you in the next video.